If we decide we want to have a Living Word Ministries parade in downtown Burkesville, we got to talk to somebody to get permission, right? It might be the police. We might have to have some type of a warrant sheet. We might have to contact the state. If we're going to use the state highway, you got to contact the state. The state contacts the city. So it's all about doing things the proper way. And to be an authority is to represent God. So if you go to your school, your job, and you're there as a Christian, guess what? You have authority. Because you're a believer in God who delegates authority and puts people in their proper place. But if we fail in that leadership, we can only blame ourselves because we failed Him and those we serve. Look, the thing about leadership is this. It is not fun at the top. It's not fun at the top. Everything falls back on the leader. Even if you have good people with you, even if you have, let's look at church as a whole. Church attendance nationwide is down to 25%. Only 25% of Americans attend church in this country anymore. You can talk to any pastor in town and they will tell you that attendance issues are always attendance issues. When do most people not attend church? What time of the year? Summer. They call it the summer slump. Your finances go down, your attendance goes down, and you realize that about 10% of those that stop coming in the summer never come back on a yearly basis. Which is why we're down to American church attendance 25% at the time. And they can say, well, is that pastor, is this board, is this church, is this program, is that worship, is this message? We all have different reasons, but we all have a responsibility in leadership. Because we all have a rod and staff with us at some time while we're doing it. And whether wrath or mercy, we always have to act like God in the process. So when things really go bad, the memory came across my Facebook today. 2 years ago, I was on my way to Sakua because I was stuck in Ecuador because Hurricane Jose and Hurricane Maria kept me there. I will never forget the name of those two hurricanes. And earlier this week when Dorian was going across the Bahamas, I was thinking, man, 2 years ago, I got stuck in Ecuador. Now look, Stan Holder is the Secretary-Treasurer for the district. He was on that trip. The Egypt trip, Joe Gertler, our superintendent's going on it. And so if anything bad happens, I know it's because district officials win. Okay? And that's going to be my story. So if I get taken hostage or beheaded or, I don't know, probably not, that's not going to happen. But if it does, I'm blaming the district office. And that's on tape too, so they know that. No. And I'm looking forward to a great trip and a great time. And the trip to Sakua was wonderful too. Because sometimes the storm blows you where you weren't thinking you were going to go, and God will surprise you. But with a wrath or mercy, we have to act in leadership like God. And sometimes, even as pastors, as leaders, I've had people say, you must like confronting people in their sin. I hate it. Because people get angry and mad, and they start. I've had some pretty nice Christian people say some pretty lousy things to me when I've confronted them on a sin issue. Oh, I have. I cannot tell you the things I've heard or seen. You would have to fire me from the pulpit right now for saying what they've said to me. Okay? I got scars that you can't see. My family's got scars you can't see from good Christian people who got upset because you confronted them on their sin or their issue. So I still have to act like God in the process, whatever I do. If we get angry in the process, let's remember where the anger comes from. You may say, where's this going? Name for me one leader who's never gotten angry in his life. Name one president. Name one congressman. Name one mayor, one governor. Name one husband or one wife. Name one principal, one superintendent. One guidance counselor. You never get upset at school, do you? Annapolis, How about state troopers? Do state troopers ever get upset you probably never lose your anger at all with crazy people? And yet, every one of us, wherever we go, has one of these in our hands. And sometimes the tendency is, okay, buddy, you back up. Sometimes leaders say, you want to guess what I got in my hand? That's never the way to lead. So one day, we were talking, and someone said, you can't talk about political people in the pulpit. Why did Jesus call Herod a fox? Do you know what the context of a fox was? They're what spoils the vine, right? But specifically in the Jerusalem area around Rome, a fox was a deceptive political person who got their nose in a place that wasn't supposed to be to usurp authority. So when Jesus said, you tell Herod that fox, in other words, that guy's sleeping around with his wife, he's unfaithful to the government, he's a loser. That's what Jesus was saying. So Jesus made some pretty strong comments to some people. So here it comes down to, every one of you is going to blow it in leadership. Just know it. Every one of you is going to blow it at times as a parent, as a husband, as a wife, as a child, as an employee, as an employer. Anybody here not blown it ever? Let me see your hands. I figured that. I don't even have to assume that nobody here has ever not blown it, because we all do. Why? Because we're human, we're frail. We have to lean on the Lord to make sure we watch what we say, watch what we do, right? The reason we fail is sometimes we grip this thing in our hands too tight. And our leadership becomes about a fight. So if you messed up, confess it, admit it, stop defending it. Because look here, if we work out our salvation with fear and trembling, wow. How should we lead others and be an example to them? Anybody here just this past week be willing to say, probably acted in a way I shouldn't have acted? Had an extreme experience of anger afflict me. Okay? Anybody here say, man, you had a thought go through your head because of the way somebody drove around you or was working with you, and you thought to yourself, you really shouldn't have even thought it, but you did?
How they cross the bridge.
Yeah. I'm going to do a whole series on people on the bridge here in a couple of months, I think. But here's Israel. Israel failed. They rebelled against God a whole lot of times, but God was patient. Patient. So we're dealing with a delegated authority. Facebook has brought one thing to attention about the bridge. Why doesn't somebody do something about the bridge? Why doesn't the police or the sheriff's department, why doesn't somebody do something about the bridge? Who's totally and thoroughly responsible for the bridge? Tell me. Who has the total responsibility for the bridge in this area? Is it the county?
Brandon Poole, I think.
Brandon Poole is to blame for what's going on, and Grandma said so, and she's always right. It's the state highway, right? State highway department's responsible for that. So if you got a problem with the bridge, don't talk to the police. Call the state highway department, talk to the people at the engineering department and say, I've got a concern about the bridge on 90 in Cumberland County because of this, and this, right? Yes, the police act, and the county deputies and sheriffs act, but you've got to go through the proper authority, right? So you complain to the cops all you want, folks, but guess what? Doesn't mean nothing. You complain to the mayor and the Judge Phelps. You can complain all you want, but they don't have the staff. They don't have the rod in their hand when it comes to bridge situations. Right? So you got to know who's in charge and how to deal with it. But how do we deal with these things in our life? Well, listen to Numbers chapter 20 and verses 2 through 13. There was no water for the congregation, and they assembled themselves against Moses and Aaron. The people thus contended with Moses and spoke, saying, if only we had perished when our brothers perished before the Lord. Why then have you brought the Lord's assembly to this wilderness, for us and our beasts to die here? Why have you made us come from Egypt, Moses and Aaron, to bring us to this wretched place, Moses and Aaron? It's not a place of grain or figs or vines or pomegranates, nor is there water. There's no water, Moses. Do you get what we're saying? There's no water. Then Moses and Aaron came in from the presence of the assembly to the doorway of the tent of meeting and fell on their faces. There had been a complaint session for a long time. What'd they do? They went and they prayed. They were fed up. Then the glory of the Lord appeared to them. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, take the rod, and you and your brother Aaron assemble the congregation, and speak to the rock before their eyes, that it may yield its water. You shall thus bring forth water for them out of the rock, and let the congregation and their beasts drink. So Moses took the rod from before the Lord, just as he commanded him. So God speaks to him and says, strike the rock. The Hebrew is very clear. It just means strike one time. Not strike many times, not strike twice, not as many times as you want. Not get a good rhythm on that rock, just strike it once. So Moses took the rod from the Lord, his command. He gathered them all together, and he said, listen now, you rebels! Probably the very first thing he shouldn't have said. He probably should have said something like, okay, folks, look, I know you're upset. We don't have water. God brought us here. You folks all know that. Remember, we crossed the Red Sea on dry land. We've got manna. I was up on the mountain. God made my face shine so much, some of you want me to cover it up. So, look, he's going to take care of us. But what did Moses do? You bunch of whining, complaining people, I'm fed up with it. You make me mad. Where'd he been? He'd just been in the tent of meeting where the glory of God had fallen. And just that quick, lost his temper. Parents never do that, do they? Educators never do that, do they? Let's keep reading. Listen now, you rebels, shall we bring forth water for you out of this rock? He asked them the question. What did God say? Moses, go and strike the rock. There'll be enough water for them and their beasts. Let's talk numbers. There's at least 1.5 million people. There's at least 250,000 animals with them. Okay? We're talking a whole lot of people, a whole lot of animals, a whole lot of need. And all God said was, just go and strike the rock. Strike the rock. Strike the rock. We'll be fine. Shall we bring forth water for you? In other words, Moses takes it personally. You've been complaining and griping and whining to us. Why don't you guys talk to God about this? Why don't you go pray? Oh no, we've done that. We've been the ones going praying. Uh-oh. That's a terrible example of leadership, wasn't it? Moses should have been more humble. They just came out. The glory of the Lord fell. Tent of meeting where they fell. The glory of the Lord came. God, and Moses knew what that glory was. He'd experienced it. He'd seen it. He felt it. And what happened? It never humbled him at all. So when he walked up, he said, listen now, you rebels! Making a fist on that rod. When he should have come up and said, okay guys, listen. I know you're upset. I know you're thirsty. But we went and prayed. I really wish you'd complain and talk to God about this, but we went and prayed because you complained to us. We're in charge. I'm the leader. And so here's what God's told us to do. And look what he says. Listen now, you rebels. Shall we bring forth water for you out of the rock? Instead of, listen folks, God's going to provide water out of this rock. Instead of this, listen you rebels, it should have been, let's trust the Lord for what he's going to do. Everybody watch this. Then Moses lifted up his hand and he struck the rock twice with his rod. Picture this. Left hand goes in the air, and this comes down. Right hand was always power. So he was raising his hands to declare, this is God's work now. And actually it was his at the time, the way he did it. I'm going to raise my hand, Israel, so you know I'm washing my hands of this. You made this happen. Let the water come out. Yeah, water came forth abundantly, and the congregation and their beasts drank. Probably took a couple hours, maybe half a day, but they did. But the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, because you have not believed me to treat me as holy in the sight of the sons of Israel, therefore you shall not bring this assembly in the land which I have given him. Those were the waters of Meribah, because the sons of Israel contended with the Lord, and he proved himself holy among them. It says that God basically proved himself holy. He said, Moses, just go strike the rock, I'll take care of it. But that wasn't enough for Moses. We want justice and we want it right now, don't we? I can't believe that guy got by with this situation. They should be in prison. They should be going to jail. I can't believe that person's still out and not in jail. I can't believe this. That's us doing this. Instead, okay, Lord, I don't like the fact this person's still out. But I need you to bring justice in this situation, so I'm going to trust you to take care of it. Moses took the complaining and the weariness and all the frustration, and he held it to himself, and he did not let it go. Even though he was in God's presence, God's glory at the meeting, he still held on to it. And when he came out, instead of doing what God said to do, he was still mad. So don't tell me you came out of your prayer closet and not be mad still at things. Which is why the Word tells us to think very carefully about what we say and how we say it. So the story is going to get a little deeper here. There's a price you pay for disobedience. Moses and Aaron committed one mistake. And Aaron didn't even have his hand on the rod. You know why Aaron got nailed? Because he should have said, Moses, hey man, settle down. Moses, you need to chill. We're just in the prayer room. We just left church. Why are you driving so fast? We've got to beat the Baptist to El Rey. Whoever's going to be there first. Sometimes we start doing things. We leave church, and man, the first thought, because someone goes flying by us, or we get behind that really, really slow person. You folks know, you know what I'm talking about. They made one mistake and they were banned from it. So, see, if you're in delegated authority, you're in leadership, you're a delegated authority. And the more authority you're delegated, the more severe God will be in dealing with you. I'm telling you what, it's a scary thing. Luke 12:48. We don't usually catch the first part of this verse. But the one who did not know it and committed deeds worthy of a flogging will receive but few. For everyone who has been given much, much will be required, and to whom they entrusted much of him, they will ask all the more. That's you and that's me. And that's why as a pastor, I will go through more severe judgments and more severe assessment than some of you. So when I stand up here behind the pulpit and I preach or I teach, I got to make sure it's not my emotions that are coming out, but the solid Word of God that's being preached and taught. Moses was banned from the Promised Land, and literally Aaron's going to be stripped of his priestly garment. Read this. This is the same chapter, okay? Take Aaron and his son Azar, and bring them up to Mount Hor, and strip Aaron of his garments, and put them on his son Eleazar. So Aaron will be gathered to his people and will die there. God, all I did was, I stood there by Moses. That's all I did. I prayed with him. I felt your glory. Big deal. You should have told Moses to settle down, and you didn't. Are you catching that? They stripped him of his priestly garments, and it says he was going to die there. So Moses did just as the Lord had commanded, and they went up to the Mount Hor in the sight of all the congregation. Everybody in the town got to watch. The people who complained and caused all this big fuss, they got to watch Moses be banned from going to the Promised Land. And they got to watch Aaron walk up that mountain with Moses and Aaron's son and some of the other priests. And they got to watch knowing Aaron was going to die there because of their complaining about not having water. After Moses had stripped Aaron of his garments and put them on his son, Eleazar, Aaron died there on the mountaintop. And then Moses and Eleazar came down from the mountain. When all the congregation saw that Aaron had died, all the house of Israel wept for Aaron 30 days. This wasn't, go up there and wait, Aaron, we're going to starve you out. This was, you take your clothes off, sit down, and die. All because the people were complaining from the very beginning. Wow. Now, why didn't God take the people up the mountain? Why didn't he just send a plague or lightning? Let the jackals loose? I'll tell you why. Because they had people in authority over them, who God had appointed to take care of any problem they encountered in the wilderness. Those of you that are bosses over people are probably thinking, man, I don't like this message very much. Because when you act as an authority, you better have heard from God and be doing it His way. Whether you're a pastor, whether you're a husband, whether you're a father, whether you're a boss, a supervisor, you better be doing it His way because there's a price you pay. Be careful what you say. Be careful to render judgment carelessly. You've got to control your spirit and your mouth because Moses didn't do that in that setting. He was still mad with people. He talked to God. He met with God. And glory came down. And notice God didn't say, Moses, before you walk out that door, you better get your heart right with me because you're about to make a huge mistake and I'm going to keep you from the promised land. So wouldn't it be nice if God would have said that? He would have, oh God, I'm sorry, I'll take care of that. But He didn't. Be careful what you say and do when you are angry.
Amen.
Because Moses and Aaron both found out. And Aaron, all he did was stand by Moses. Can't you imagine? Aaron, today you have to die because you stood with them. Or you should have said, Moses, don't strike that rock twice. You're mad, you're angry, stop. Nobody did. So it wasn't just the leadership, it was those who were next to leadership. So like pastor and board members. I kind of like it, it'd be the board members taking up the mountain and not the pastor. But no, you understand what I'm saying with that. Look at any government leader, any official, any church minister, any church leader. Look. Somebody else had the right to say, hey man, that's not good. That's not good. You need to stop before you say that. And those are the things that were happening. Be angry and what's the Bible say? Sin not. So we got to be careful because if we got this in our hand as leaders and we start acting like nobody can tell us what to do, nobody can give us the what for, we're going to be in trouble ourselves. We got to realize that. Delegated authority has to be careful to not make mistakes. Wow. Pastors, board members, ministries leaders in the church, principals, teachers, students. We have to make sure we watch what we're doing with that. God never sets up any delegated authority who is without a ministry, as all authority is based on ministry. Because your job is a ministry. Norm, you don't drive a cement truck. You have a ministry in a cement truck. Maria, you're not just a stylist. You have a ministry as a stylist. You do. I'm sorry I don't come to your shop very often, but there's obvious reasons why. But nonetheless, I still appreciate your ministry. My family does. But nonetheless, you understand what I'm saying. If you've got a ministry, if God's given you something to do with your hands, guess what? That's it. One's authority before men is equal to one's ministry before the Lord. So whatever you do with your life, it's all spelled out right here. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it all to the glory of the Lord. So don't just say, well, I just work at Dollar General. All I do is I'm a nurse. All I do is I'm a pastor. All I do is... No. What you do is a ministry. And He's given you a rod in your hand to make sure you understand that sometimes going up the hill, you better have some help up the hill. And He's the one that gives you the help. He's the one that guides you and leads you. Your authority is a ministry and it represents Jesus Christ. Moses and Aaron represented God's authority and God's presence, God's Spirit. And even though they went to the tent meeting and they bowed down and they prayed and they said, God, we're sorry, or whatever, they experienced God's glory, they went back out in the flesh. They walked out of the tent meeting. They walked out of God's presence in the flesh. Did you get that? And boy, sometimes we do the very same thing. All depends on how we grip the rod and staff in our hand. So where do we go from here? Moses and Aaron failed the nation. One died that day. That day. That day. Later on, Aaron's sons, Nadab and Abihu, would offer up strange fire. Many think they consumed some alcoholic beverage before they walked in, and they were with their minds kind of not fully focused on the Lord, but they did something they shouldn't have done. And God dropped them dead right there on the spot in the tabernacle. Because they offered strange fire to God. Aaron's sons should have known. They should have remembered, Man, Dad made one simple mistake. He didn't tell Moses to shut up. Did that happen? David never took the bull by the horns with Saul and killed it. David could have said, God, I know that Saul has this rod in his hand. But you promised me I'm the king, so I want that rod. I'm going to go take it by force. David never did that. He realized, I'm going to wait till I have it handed to me by God. So in other words, as an authority, he realized he had to do what God was telling him to do when he told him to do it. And when you know authority, it's easier to maintain authority. Whether you drive too fast or not, if you're like me, whether you're looking at the cruise or not, if you see an officer, what you usually do? Hit the brake, right? Slow down. Scream. I don't know what you might do, but Why do we do that? Because we recognize the authority. Right? Why don't we always recognize God's authority in our lives when it comes to people and situations? 2 Samuel 7:18. Then David the king went in and sat before the Lord, and he said, Who am I, O Lord God, and what is my house that you have brought me this far? David said, I have no idea, God, why you've chosen me. I have no idea, God, why you've trusted me with this kingdom, but you have. Where had he been? He'd been sitting in God's presence. Now what if Moses and Aaron had taken that same approach when they walked out of the tabernacle? Well, they walked out and said, Hey people, we're not really sure why God appointed us. I don't know why God showed me a burning bush. I don't know why he told me to lead you folks to the Red Sea. I don't know why. But I'm humbled by the fact that God trusts me. And if he did all that, he's going to provide water. And he told me to take this rock and to strike this rock. And I'm going to do that. So everybody just stand back and watch. All your animals, all your kids have enough water to last for a life. So just stand back. And where had Moses and Aaron been? Oh, they'd been in the presence of the Lord, haven't they? And the glory had fallen. And yet they still walked out in the flesh. We can leave church in the flesh. You can leave this altar right here in the flesh. Because you didn't really leave the things here you should have left here. But he went in first to prostrate himself and stepped how unworthy he was to lead. That's why David was a man after God's own heart. He couldn't leave the ladies alone. He held on to some anger and some other issues. But when it came to the leadership things, he always said, God, I have no idea why you put me here. I'm unworthy of this position. And you look at Moses a lot of times he said, God, why did you give these people to me, right? Time and time again he says that. Why'd you give me this group of people that whine and complain about everything? But God did, for a reason. Because he trusted Moses and Aaron to lead. He trusted knowing that God, that he could. One who represents God's authority must have this blessed foolishness in him. To have authority and to be unconscious of being an authority. In other words, humility is what we all have to be full of. Every day of the week, every decision that we make. I appreciate the fact that our board members, I told them this, we meet on the Saturday before board meeting, just to kind of discuss things, and that way we can kind of streamline the meetings. Come in with some knowledge. I have never worked with a board that I have loved and appreciated and respect as much as the ones in this church. Some of you that are sitting out there that aren't on the board currently, if you've been on the board, I consider you as part of that ex officio members of the board. And I appreciate the support you give me as a pastor for my family and for the church. I appreciate the fact that nobody's a yes man. I appreciate, I've never heard, well, whatever you want to do, Pastor, you just go right ahead. I'm thankful for the accountability I can have with those men on the board. I appreciate the honesty and I appreciate the humility that they have in the position that they serve. I really do. We've never had any knockdown, drag-out brawls that I remember. No one's ever got mad and left. No one's ever said, "What are you thinking?" Although maybe at times they should have, I don't know. There are men who understand their delegated authority as elected and voted on members of this congregation to represent leadership. And they're not just there to do the pastor's agenda. They care about this congregation. They care about this church. They care about this community. They care about where we are and what we're doing as a church. And I appreciate that. The humility part is essential. But the question is, when it comes to you, what does your authority look like? What does authority in your life look like? Is it humble? Is there humility? In your job, in your family, in your marriage, in your relationships, where you live, what you do? Do people see Christ in what you do? Do they see the guy or the woman that's just in a rush to get through the day? Or do they see the concern you have for people that you work with? Do they recognize some of those things? Person's not here today, or at least in the room that I see right now. But I've had, Saturday before the breakfast, a gentleman came in that works with somebody in our church. And I'll just tell you, Sylvia. I'll talk about her because she's not in here, but it's all good. This person that works with her, he said, I know you guys like to joke around and stuff, but he said, she is a hard worker. And she represents Jesus at EMK. And as her pastor, you need to realize that you got someone working hard in the community, and I see it. She's not just talking up, she's doing it, she's living. That makes me feel great as a pastor. Because your life represents the church. In a lot of ways, your life represents me. Because he said, as her pastor, you just need to know that she does it right. She lives it, she talks it, she's on the job, believer, the real deal. And that's what authority should look like in your life and in mine. Yeah, we may not always make the right decisions. If that's when we say, man, I blew that, I'm sorry. But we can't be like Moses and Aaron, who walked out of that tabernacle and were so angry with the people who had complained to them. I had a conversation with the general manager at Walmart yesterday when to do shopping. And I just simply said, sir, I'm not going to stop shopping here. Because it's like, if you shop in town, you're getting robbed. Nothing personal, but, 6 gallons a dollar. $6 a gallon for milk. That's price gouging. Right? I'm not being polite, I'm just saying honest truth. But nonetheless, I said, I'm not going to stop shopping here. But I just want you to know, as a gun owner, as a Second Amendment person, I'm very disappointed in Walmart's position on what they're doing with ammunition and open carry. I don't open carry ever, but Kentucky's an open carry state. Last time I checked, I said, I just want you to know. I said, I just want you to know I've emailed corporate office. I've told them too. And he was like, I'll tell you what, I don't like it either. And the place that I met him was at the gun rack area back in the sporting goods. The two guys met there were like, we don't like it either. There's people walking by, we don't like it either. Pretty soon about 10 or 12 people said, we don't like this, and thanks for that. And I wasn't there to cause a scene. I just want to say, and he said, but he did say this, I appreciate the fact you're not yelling and screaming and leaving obscene messages on our answer machine, because we have that stuff all the time. People get mad, they don't have, there's a way to respond, there's a way to criticize, there's a way to say, I don't like what you're doing. There's a way to do it. And of all the people that are doing it, it ought to be us that set the standard. So folks, how's the authority in your life? Does it look Christ-like? When you have to complain about something, does it look Christ-like? Well, Jesus never complained. Did you guys not pray with me 1 hour? Was that a complaint, an assessment? If we whittle it all down, to complain about something means to bring out something that is not going right with the situation, right? Dictionary definition, Jesus was complaining to the disciples. Could you not pray with me 1 hour? We throw the negative connotation into that word complain. What was Israel doing? The Hebrews. There's no water! They were whining. Hebrews uses that word to the point of saying, that's why Simeon never got in. Israel never learned its lesson time and time again. So look, We finish up this series on spiritual authority. God expects you to act like the spiritual authority you're supposed to act like. God expects you to be Christ-like and humble. God expects you to live in a way that glorifies Christ in every situation you're in. Well, you just got rear-ended by some guy who was on his phone texting his girlfriend. It doesn't matter. Whatever situation we're in, we handle it the way God would expect us to handle it. We address the situation the way we should expect to handle it. We should talk and speak in the way God expects us to speak.
Amen.
Moses and Aaron were both angry. I'll say Moses was angry. Aaron just let it go. Aaron should have been the one that said, Moses, settle down. Aaron did not have Moses back at that point. He let it go. So realize, folks, you are supposed to defuse some people. Hear what I said? You are supposed to diffuse some people. When they're all upset and mad and angry, they're going to go after this and do that. Hey, you be the one that says, what do we think about this? What do you think about who you are and what you are in Christ? Because that matters. So folks, once you walk out those doors, what you do with the rod in your hand matters. What you do with the rod in your hand matters. What you do with the rod in your hand, where you live, where you work, where you shop, where you are the boss, where you're the employee, no matter where you are, you've got a rod in your hand because you're delegated authority. Make sure you don't let anger define it. Don't blame Brandon for the bridge. And the bridge was here before he got here. I'm just thinking about that. But even the way we joke with people, we have to be careful, don't we? And look, we live in a world, our world, this is the last thing I'm going to say. Our world is ripe for one thing: offense. Our world is ripe for offense. People want to be offended for anything, everything you say, do, think, look, act, whatever. I personally like to wear my Trump shirt to Walmart when I go. Oh, I've had some. You just cannot believe. There's a cashier at Walmart that hates Trump. I mean, just hates it. I'd never wear it here. Out in public I will. But nonetheless, I've had people look at me and just growl and walk on. And I've had the same thing with some of my Christian t-shirts. I was coming back from a flight years ago and had a shirt that had half the face of Christ on it. Just half the face of Jesus. And it basically said, what half's missing in your life, or something like that. And I was on a flight, waiting in line for the bathroom, and this lady across from me, she's like, can you turn around? And I thought she wanted to read the back of my shirt. I said, wait a minute. Can you just go sit back down? I do not like that shirt. Go sit down! Go sit down! Like that, on a plane. I walked to the back of the 747, used the bathroom back there in another section. That lady walked past me to get out. She glared at me. All because I was wearing a shirt. She was madder than the lady at Walmart over my Trump shirt. People just want to be offended. That's the culture God's called us to live in. That's the culture God's called us to serve in. And that's the world that God has told us to be His delegated authorities in. That's the culture that needs to see us use this staff and this rod right. And with humility. So Lord, help us. Lord, remind us today to assess our hearts and our minds, to make sure that what we say when we're in front of people, around people, and leading people to whatever we're doing, to be Christ-like in everything we do. And help us, God, after having spent time in your house and in your presence, not to walk out in the flesh and grip that staff the wrong way. Change us from the inside out, Lord. And let the world see Christ at work in us, we pray. In Jesus' name.